Gane, minus 160 favorite with the plus 135 comeback for Alexander Volkov, AJ. And obviously, I've noted before, folks, but if this is your first time tuning into the show, these are opening week odds. So the odds are most likely not going to be the same right now. They will have shifted. But this is how the odds maker saw it out on last Sunday, at the beginning of the week. So the question is, by our boy Syke, do you feel that this is the right match to favor Volkov? Keep the distance / pick them apart? And that's a good question, AJ. That's a really good question because Ciryl Gane has looked almost undestructible at this, you know what I mean? He's taken like no damage. He's never been taken down. He looks great against everybody, even when he has a boring performance like he did against Rosenstruck. And he looks like he's kind of just having fun. Like there's this big picture of him where he's got the mouth guard in and he's just smiling. He's just like, oh yeah, like as he's punching his face in. And in his pre-fight presser, he says, man, one thing he loves about MMA, because he's from France, right? And MMA in France isn't nearly as popular as it is in other regions of the world. It's finally just got legalized recently. He says he loves the contact. He loves the contact nature of the sport of MMA, and it's like, damn, you better hope you love it, because if you don't, why the hell you in the sport? You know what I'm saying? But to hear a man be like, I get pleasure for punching people's faces in, it hits you a little bit differently, AJ. But what do you think about this question? Let's answer it. Is this the right match to favor of Volkov? This dude doesn't have the frame that we thought he did, like the advantages that he has against most fighters. Because Ciryl Gane, he doesn't look it. Dude is 6'5", 80-inch reach. Volkov is 6'7" with an 81-inch reach. So let's play it out, AJ. What do you think?
I mean, this one's hard because this is another one of those where Ciryl Gane is an amazing kickboxer. He'll maintain the distance almost better than Volkov will. Volkov can get lulled into getting close and into boxing range, kind of how we saw with the Derek Lewis fight, sure, where Derek Lewis was able just to weather the storm, get on the inside, and crack him one. Now, is it going to favor Volkov maintaining distancing on the outside? I don't think so. I think it's going to play better to Gane if he's going to be able to do that. If Gane's going to be able to stay on the outside, pick him apart from distance, I think that's going to be his route to win. What I'm looking for Volkov is to get on the inside and make it dirty. We've seen a resurgence of Volkov in the last, couple fights where he lost the stingray on his back and he decided to put a samurai, and his whole outlook, his whole game plan has changed. And that's what I really like about him. He's become a lot more mean, a lot bigger too, a lot heavier, and he'll really strike hard, man. But also, to that same point, I think that could play into the favor of Gane, because Gane in his last fight, the only reason it was so boring is because neither fighter was engaging. That's not going to be the case with Volkov. He will walk you down. He is Drago. He will put a hole in your face if you let him, man. He will control the fight if need be. But at the same point, that's going to give Gane some openings to counter-strike. And that's actually what's kind of I like best about his Gane is that he's able to move in and out, be bouncy, let them throw at him, and he'll come around with the counter-strike. I think it was who did he get? Oh, yeah, JDS with the elbows in round 2. And that was a great fight, man. That was a great fight. And the crazy thing about Gane is not only can he get it done on the hands, but he can get it done on the feet. I don't know exactly how many submission wins. Maybe you might be able to pull that up for us. But I know in his last 5, he got a seriously impressive heel hook against Dontel Mays. As well as right before that, he had Pessoa in a nice arm triangle choke. And for a big guy, Gane moves fast. So to answer the homie Syke, and also shout out Syke, man. I love that those you sending them questions in, man. Keep it coming. And for anyone else, hit us in the comments, bro. We'll answer them for you. But to answer that, I think this is actually a better situation for Gane. If Gane is able to maintain distance and roll like he likes to fight, well, Alexander Volkov is coming in. I think it's going to be a little better for him, for Gane, excuse me. Who do you think? What do you think, Derek?
Well, I like what you're saying, man. The only thing that makes me kind of be like, I'm not sure, is that they're fighting in Vegas. So there's going to be a tiny cage. And Volkov, there's one thing he does well is as soon as the fight starts, recently, this wasn't always this way, but recently he establishes the center of the cage immediately. He says, this is mine. I'm taking the center. But here's the thing, Ciryl Gane, we know he loses that movement, man. He'll bounce around. He'll move in a big circle and just pick you apart, not get hit, all that stuff, right? So I do think that this is a fight where you can favor Volkov because of that tiny cage, and there's not, just like Ngannou versus Miocic, this is not the same matchup, right? But in that fight, what was the thing that was much different than their first fight? It was in a tiny little cage in Vegas, right? And Miocic, he just couldn't move. Everywhere he went, Ngannou was right there. And Volkov, that's just the thing that's deceiving right here. Ciryl Gane is not nearly as small as he looks, right? Or how Volkov looks against other fighters. Ciryl Gane is just not that small, dude. He's so big and he moves so unorthodox. But that leads me, AJ. So basically, can you favor Volkov? Absolutely. Keep this distance and pick him apart? No, I don't really see that for Volkov. I say walk forward and smash his face, and that's probably his game plan. But this next question leads straight into that, and I'm glad you kind of pointed that out. I'm going to read this really quickly. This is a Reddit post from a user, the Big Red Hafrican. That's a pretty interesting name. I like that. All right, so it says, I think the new and improved 280-pound Volkov beats everybody in the division except Ngannou. I think Francis is too fast and powerful early on, and Volkov's biggest flaw is that he simply doesn't move quickly. He can throw kicks fast, but his speed of movement is just too slow to avoid getting clobbered by Ngannou. Now, AJ, this has nothing to do with Ngannou, but I brought this up because I do think there's some valid points there, right? Volkov is slow. And it's to be expected when you're that large of a human. Like, there's no one sitting there being like, oh, look, you need to get fat. Like, dude, you're just a huge person, right? So it makes sense. And he got real power behind everything that he throws. But him, that being his biggest flaw, can't Ciryl Gane just take advantage of that? Like, make him miss and give him 2-3? You know what I'm saying? Like, I honestly think that that's going to be the biggest issue, is that Ciryl Gane could draw out with his feints. He could draw out the strikes of Volkov, play the chess match, and get the big win there. And you already talked about the submissions, right? Gane has 3 submissions on his belt. 2 of them came in the UFC. And his first submission win against Don'Tale Mayes, he was whooping his ass the entire fight, went for the finish in the first round, didn't get it, beat him up in the second round, beat him up in the third round, and with like 10 seconds left, said, all right, I'm going to grab a heel hook. And that's it. So with that always in that back pocket, AJ, man, that's the part that really worries me about the chances of Volkov winning. Especially because Volkov in his pre-fight presser, he says, yeah, I hope Gane stands up with me. I hope he tries to trade with me. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, obviously you do. You know what I mean? Clearly. But I honestly also think this, AJ. I think that Ciryl Gane's best path to victory, I don't think it's going to the ground. And the reason why is because what did Curtis Blades say when he fought Alexander Volkov? Did he beat him decisively? Yes. I think he took him down like 14 times or something crazy like that. But he says, I couldn't get the finish because it's really hard to grapple against a dude with such an unorthodox long frame like a Volkov, right? It's not as easy as just grappling a regular sized person that you're used to, that you have in your training gyms and whatnot. So with all of those caveats, AJ, all of that stuff, man, give me a couple scenarios how this fight plays out, man. Do you think... and honestly, I don't see it happening, AJ, but I didn't see it happening with the Rosenstruck fight either. Can this fight go all 5 rounds?
I really don't think so. I really don't think so with how Volkov fights. Volkov's going to put full pressure. And what I liked about what you were saying is you're right. I do think the Reddit poster, the Red Hafrican, he's and I probably said that wrong, but he's right. He's right. You know, the Ngannou is a little stronger, a little faster, but I think Volkov has that underrated ability to where he could take a crack. He handled Overeem with no problem. Overeem caught Volkov solid a couple times, and Volkov was able to weather the storm, put him out in round 2. Now, I think this matchup, like we were saying before, leads a little bit more in favor to Gane, especially because Volkov's going to walk forward, throw a couple feints. He might get caught on a counter hook. You never know. Like you said, hit him with that 2-3, but. Like you said, or like I said, excuse me, Volkov has a chin, man. He can weather the storm, and if he's able to do that, I do think it's going to go later into the rounds. But I don't think with these 2 big boys we're going to see a decision, my man. I think that's going to be one of the big long shots right there. We're going to see a decision. I just don't see it playing out with how much Volkov puts pressure on the fight and how good Gane is in the transition, you know, in the counter shots and in the movement. He fights like he's a middleweight. It's the craziest thing to see some dude 260 plus running around, just like literally bouncing around like it's 2, small dudes like us in the cage, Derek. So yeah. This one's an interesting one to me. I could also see, I don't see this one playing out too much, but I could see Gane shooting in, getting hurt, shooting in for a takedown, and then kind of working some advantages there. Maybe looking for a heel hook, because the only real way, like you were saying with Curtis Blades, it's very awkward to get him going. But when you got those long limbs, it makes it easier if you're going to go for an arm bar or a leg bar, heel hook, anything like that, ankle pick, any of those weird long limb movements that we're going to see, those complex movements. I think that could play in the favor of Gane, but I really don't see it going that way. I definitely see Alexander Volkov taking the center of the ring, really being the bully of the fight, while Gane is just dancing around on his bike, picking his shots, popping, all from the outside, letting Volkov come in, counter shots. And Volkov, I really see him working that front kick, using it as a jab, maintaining, keeping Gane on his back foot, and really looking to do some damage in there, man. That's really what I'm hoping to see, because, like I said, since Volkov has got that samurai tatted on his back, he's a whole new fighter and a whole new savage, and I'm really, really excited for this one for that. What do you think, Derek? how you see
Well,
this one playing out.
dude, I mean, like you gave a couple of scenarios that's exactly how I see it playing out. But there's one you didn't mention, and I can see it. I don't know why. I just keeps playing in my head. I don't know why I can see Ciryl Gane trying to do his normal thing, because the thing about Gane, yeah, he has great head work and he uses head movement instead of the traditional guard, right? So he uses head. He'll get popped with some stuff and he'll try to do that same Andre Feely type thing where at the perfect time, just bring it up real quick and then keep moving. And while that works for most people, man, I can see Volkov and his length, right? Just because he's got pretty equal, comparable length to Gane, just bat at the end of the shots, man, and just Gane just being like, oh God, what's about to happen? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't normally get touched like this, right? I don't know why I could see that happening so very well, even though his movement is so good. But Volkov, you're right, he's so dangerous. He's so dangerous. I will say this, man. Ciryl Gane trains out of the same camp that basically Ngannou birthed champion Ngannou, which is MMA Factory out there in Paris, France. Right now, did Ngannou have the extreme couture stuff as well? Yes, of course, right? But listen, MMA Factory clearly, even though it's an MMA gym, I don't know if you know this, they're more known for their kickboxing, right? They have a lot of kickboxers over there at MMA Factory. And Ciryl Gane, he is a former kickboxer himself, 7-0, 5 knockouts, right? Former Muay Thai heavyweight champion. And I checked his weight going in, right? Because Volkov, the other thing, I'm going to pull it up really fast again, AJ. The first thing that they note is, I like the new and improved 280-pound Volkov, right? The big boy, right? You know, a dude who has to cut down, and Volkov does cut to 265, so he is huge, right? Ciryl Gane, he in his last fight, he came in at about like 240 pounds, so that's going to be a big difference in it right there. You might even not want to grapple with the dude who's that big, right? But lastly, AJ, you remember, and I think this is partly why Volkov maybe hasn't had the rub that he deserves. You remember when he fought Greg Hardy? And everyone was like, oh, yeah, he's just going to smash through Greg Hardy. And he fought to a decision win. And it's just like, and he even just said, I was listening to UFC Unfiltered, and Volkov was all like, yeah, I have to give respect to Greg Hardy. He has the soul of a fighter. And this dude, like, he even said he had good cardio. And I was like, what? Greg Hardy, good cardio? Okay, all right. Maybe something that got lost in translation, because he did have a translator there with him. But I just have to point this statistic out before we get out of here, AJ. Greg Hardy landed the third most significant strikes with 46 of all the Volkov's UFC opponents. He has trouble against tough, fast, athletic fighters, and that's basically the definition of a Ciryl Gane, man. So if Greg Hardy could put 46 on you, imagine what a Ciryl Gane could put on you. You know what I'm saying? Especially because his output is a little bit higher, about like 4.8. It's basically the same, but. Right cross, body kicks are money, straight punches are the key to victory for Alexander Volkov. But with all that being said, AJ, give me your pick and why.
Man, so me personally, I got Volkov getting this one done. KO, round 4. I think we're going to see something a little different. I think we're going to see something where Volkov might even be put on the back foot, kind of gets a KO win, like you were saying, or like the Reddit post is saying, excuse me. He's coming in 280. He's a big dude. I was even noting that in his last couple fights. He's really, since the Curtis Blades fight, made a change. And I don't know if that's where the tattoo came in, but that's definitely where the extra weight came in. And he looks thick. He's a lot stronger on his shots, and I definitely think that adds to the fact of how he was able to eat Overeem's punches like no problem. We saw him get hurt with the Derek Lewis fight, but I don't think that's going to be the case, man. I think that 40 extra pounds that he's packing on that has Gane at that disadvantage, I think that's going to play in big, and Alexander Volkov is going to be the bully that we expect him to see, and I think he's going to maintain that distance. I'm really saying watch out for that front kick down the pipe from Volkov. We're going to see something crazy. KO round 4. Who you got?
Well, that is quite the prediction right there. Even though I got to put all the respect, they clearly forget. Alexander Volkov is a former Bellator heavyweight champion, former M1 global heavyweight champion. Like, this dude is very, very experienced, and that's probably the key thing that comes in to be a little bit different in this one, right? 33-8 is Volkov. 8-0 for Ciryl Gane. That's a big, big jump in experience. But even with all that stuff you outlined, man, I'm going with the momentum in this one. I'm going with the specimen, the freak, the unorthodox dude who, and I say those in like a positive manner. You know, that's what makes him good, is because he doesn't move like anybody in his division. You know, literally, I agree with you. He's one of the most like gorgeous performances to watch, or best performers, right? As smooth as butter, you know what I'm saying? In and out movement, all of that. I'm going to Ciryl Gane. And listen, man, I'm making this up on the spot. I'm gonna go with what you did. TKO4 for Ciryl Gane. I say get Volkov, get him tired, get him sweaty, and then pounce on the ground and pound or something. Because there's one thing that we got to know about Ciryl Gane. It's like I talked about, he's a Muay Thai champion, man. That clinch is dangerous. His elbows in the ground and pound and in the clinch are ridiculous. And Alexander Volkov, he has been knocked out twice. I mean, take that for what it's worth, folks. You know, this is gonna be a fucking banger, bro. I love these fights where we have to go so back and forth because it's like I don't know who's going to win this fight. I hope Ciryl Gane, but then again, I hope Volkov, because Volkov versus Ngannou, bro. Come on, that's a matchup right there, man. That's one I would like to see that probably more than Miocic Ngannou 3, to be honest with you, man. But you know, listen. With all of that being said, AJ, that's the picks, man.